We're talking about what can be a rather controversial topic, the cash bail system. And before I bring on my next guest to talk about this, let me explain why the cash bail system is coming under fire right now in Indiana. An Indiana Senate committee heard testimony this week on Senate Bill 8. This proposed bill would regulate charitable bail funds. Now, Nikki Sterling, the mother of the late Dylan McGinnis, testified before the Indiana Senate Committee on Tuesday. She said her son Dylan was gunned down in Indy by a man who was free on bail in connection with a cocaine possession charge, and that some of this bail money was paid for by the Bail Project. Now, for those of you who don't know it, the Bail Project and other nonprofit organizations like it help pay for the release of people in jail awaiting their trials. In most cases, these organizations pay the bail or some of the bail for people who can't afford it. To tell us a little bit more about the hearing and about Senate Bill 8, we actually have Jeff Clayton. He is the executive director of the American Bail Association. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
So just for starters, you were actually at this Senate committee hearing earlier this week, right?
I was.
So with that being said, can you kind of break down what Senate Bill 8 would do?
Absolutely. Senate Bill 8 would follow the lead of Texas and New York and regulate charitable bail organizations in Indiana. And there's a couple of requirements they would have to follow. They would have to get a license, like licensed bail agents who post bail. They'd be subject to audit by the Department of Insurance. And, of course, they'd have to do various background checks because they're handling a significant amount of the cash that they're soliciting from the public. And so it would bring them up to snuff and allow the public and the Indiana legislature to have some transparency and oversight over what they're doing.
So right now, are there no regulations in place for these charitable bail systems or organizations?
There are no regulations in place whatsoever in the state of Indiana. And the other thing is that the Marion County judges have revoked the agreement that they had with the Bail Project to post bonds in Indianapolis right now. So they're on legal thin ice, you might say.
Yeah. So, okay, how did the hearing then go on Tuesday? Did the committee end up voting on it, or what happened?
Well, of course, the testimony from Ms. Sterling was compelling.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were a few dry eyes in the place, and you realize the gravity of a bail decision and why, you want some oversight over what's happening out there. I think there was a lot of support for the legislation. There was testimony from the Bail Project, but, the Fraternal Order of Police had debunked their statistics that they haven't provided since 2018, and they still haven't provided statistics, and they say everybody shows up, but they don't tell you, who commits new crimes and how bad those, crimes are, because even if you have a few terrible crimes, we just don't need that right now. So I think it went well. The vote has been set over to Tuesday the 18th, so we'll expect to see if it's going to move out of the Senate there at that point.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the American Bail Association, if you don't mind. You're obviously the executive director. What does the American Bail Association do, and how does that compare to, let's say, the Bail Project?
Well, our trade association is insurance companies who underwrite criminal bail bondsmen. We advocate to protect our customers' right to bail within the United States and create a right balance between victims, the state, and the defendant who is awaiting trial.
Let's talk about just the charitable bail system or cash bail system here overall. What would you say are some of the pros and cons?
Well, obviously the pros are that I think it does create the right balance, that there is in most cases, a bail agent involved who has arrest powers. And that's what most people don't think about. They think of it as you have cash or you don't. But
right.
The reality is that most people will post a surety bond. And we have arrest powers over state and international lines. We actually outperform 100% cash. So I think that's important. The negative is that we don't take it seriously, that sometimes people stay in just because they're poor, because we don't get them in front of a judge. The prosecutor doesn't put up the proof that they really are a flight risk or a danger. But I think the alternative system of just locking whoever up, that we won is not a better system than what Indiana has now. And the final point is that Indiana's system is bail by sufficient sureties, which has been in the state constitution for a very long time.
On your website, it says, and I'm quoting it, okay, right from your website, it says, the coalition's primary focus is to protect the constitutional right to bail by working with local and state policymakers to bring best practices to the system of release from custody pending trial. And first, just let me be clear. Every American has a constitutional right to bail. I think that's important to point out. But in that statement on your website, it says, bring best practices to the system of release from custody pending jail. What do you define as best practices?
Well, certainly it's evolving over time in light of what a crime wave is right now. Everybody now is focused on the fact that during the last 10 years, we've had repeat offenders slipping through the cracks.
Yeah.
And that's why you saw Senate Bill 6 in this hearing to sort of hammer on the fact that if you've got all these violent repeat defendants out there, we shouldn't be giving them free passes. In general, what we look at is efficient bail setting, a bail setting that complies with due process. In other words, you have a review hearing to make sure that somebody's not in there because they're poor. And then I think advocating, in our case, against other heavy restraints on people's liberty that we think are unnecessary when somebody is going to be released on bail. In other words, we don't need to slap everybody in Marion County, which, by the way, has the most ankle monitors of any city in the country, on everybody and just assume it's going to work, because look at the results. It's not working.
Yeah, for sure. We can just look at other cities and towns that have been doing that. I think that's great evidence there. I feel like, Jeff, this is just such a loaded topic of conversation. I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, we don't. Really quick, though, can you mention again what's happening next with the hearing in terms of Nikki Sterling?
Absolutely. There'll be a vote on the bill on this Tuesday, the 18th. I anticipate it'll probably come out of the Senate, and then we'll have a hearing in the House and see where it goes from there.
As things develop, Jeff, can we stay in touch with you to keep us updated?
Absolutely. It'd be my pleasure.
Yeah, well, I put you on the spot there. I got it on recording. You just said it live on the air, Jeff. You have a good one, my man. I appreciate you joining us live here on WOWO.
You too. Have a great day.